Welcome into Seahawks Today. I'm your host, Will Ortner, and we, the 12s, are showing everyone here at Chat Sports who the best NFC West fandom is. We've been in a sub-battle all week long for supremacy when it comes to the NFC West, and right now we are dominating the 49ers report. We have 30 more new subscribers this week than they did. If you have a friend that likes Seattle Seahawks videos, loves the team, make sure they come in and subscribe to the channel. We've got videos coming out every single day. Now we're going to dive into the questions on today's mailbag, and this comes from Darnold Season. What does the return of Nick Emmanwori mean for the Seahawks defense? Now, I think this is one of the more fascinating and fun questions with Seattle. Going into the season, Nick Emmanwori was supposed to be your starting big nickel. And what that means is when teams went into 12 personnel or they went into a formation where you needed a bigger defensive back, Nick Emmanwori would go in there. If it was more of a spread where you need more of a dime package, Devin Witherspoon would be in that nickel spot. With how well Darian Kendrick has been playing, I don't know if you can instantly go to Nick Emmanwori, or it's going to turn into one of those things where they're going to have to split a lot of time together. This isn't an attack on Nick Emmanwori, but to an extent, he's been a little bit Wally-pipped. Darian Kendrick, having 2 interceptions on this year, has played himself into a position where you cannot take him off of the field. In my eyes, I love that Emmanwori is coming back. I think this turns into basically where they get 50-50 of those reps in that nickel spot. Ian, shout out to you, man. Thank you so much for the super. Will Christian Haynes ever pan out as a better option at right guard, in your opinion? I think, unfortunately, Ian, we have missed when it comes to Christian Haynes. I think that the Seahawks originally wanted Christian Haynes to be battling it out with Anthony Bradford for that right guard spot. And while Anthony Bradford has clearly improved in my eyes as to what he had been in previous years, Anthony Bradford is still not where he needs to be. Christian Haynes is on IR right now with a pec injury. He ain't coming back this week. Mike McDonald said that. If you have a weak spot on this O-line, it is that right guard position. I don't think it's Christian Haynes that's going to be the person that takes over for Anthony Bradford. If anything is going to happen, I think Oluwatimi goes to center and Jalen Sundell bounces to right guard. The only way that you make a change there on that offensive line is if you make a big trade and you trade Riq Woolen for someone that's a veteran. Pie in the sky, JPJ in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. You might be stuck with this offensive line unit because I don't think that Christian Haynes is going to be the guy. Fortunately or unfortunately. Shout out to Fullbacks Matter. Love that. Big fan of Robbie Oots. Are you, huh, brother? Is Bucky Irving going to play on Sunday? Now, this is negligible of me, and I probably shouldn't do this, or negligence, I think is actually the proper term. I'm good at English. I don't believe that Bucky Irving is going to play. We've got the Adam Schefter tweet pulled up again. Bucky Irving is dealing with a foot sprain. He was in a walking boot and using crutches. Now, the Buccaneers do not think it's a long-term injury. What that means is they don't think they need to put him on IR. They're considering him week to week. I do not see a world where Bucky Irving is in crutches and in a walking boot where he comes out and plays this Sunday. I think Bucky Irving's injury is going to be very similar to how you saw Nick Emmanwori's injury path go. It took him 3 weeks to be ready to play, even though he stayed off IR. I think the same thing is going to happen for Bucky. I do not see him being able to go out and play this Sunday. Brandon! What's up, man? Go Hawks! Love and appreciate you, man. Love our team. I think our 70-player depth makes us Super Bowl ready. Hey, I don't disagree. You know who else agrees with you, Brandon? Colin freaking Cowherd. Love that. Thoughts about the right side of our offensive line? Well, we've talked a little bit about Anthony Bradford. I think that he has improved from last year. There are clearly a lot of TikToks, a lot of Twitter videos, a lot of YouTube videos that are not going our good friend's way. He's made some big mistakes that, well, frankly, he hasn't made in the past, or hasn't fixed mistakes that he's made in the past, I should say. And unfortunately, I do think there's room for improvement there at right guard. I just don't know exactly how you go about it. The easy move would be Oluwatimi. Jalen Sandell goes to guard. Oluwatimi goes to center. But right now, I think maybe if you're able to trade Riq Woolen, you find another player that is a guard-ready player. Maybe there's a potential that you look at like what the Eagles did with Mekhi Becton. Maybe you trade for a tackle that hasn't worked somewhere else and move them in to that guard spot. I know our Giants Now host, Marshall Green, really wanted us to take Evan Neal off his hands. I don't know that I want to do that, but that is an option there. Abraham Lucas, on the other hand, I don't think he's played bad. I think you are getting kind of what you expected out of him. He's been fairly decent in the run game, above average, and in the pass pro, he has one big miss. Like, let's be honest, the Nick Bosa miss, that hurts. Especially basically coming off of just getting your new contract extension. You'd have liked him to stand up a little bit better there. But remember, Abe Lucas went against Nick Bosa. Then he went against TJ Watt. And then he went against the Granderson kid and Cam Jordan out in New Orleans. He did pretty well against them. And then he went against Arizona, who, well, has nobody on the edge. And he did pretty darn good too. So I think he does deserve a little bit of credit and leniency for some of the mistakes that he made early on in the season. You guys have sent in some great questions, and I'm going to make sure that I get to as many of them as I possibly can. But before I do that, I need to talk to you about today's proud sponsor, PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if your picks are right, you could cash in. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. PrizePicks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones are overhyped? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. This Sunday, I have a 3-pick power play involving 2 Seattle Seahawks. Derrick Henry, more than his listed rushing yards in PrizePicks. Cooper Kupp, more than a touchdown. Sam Darnold, more than 237.5 passing yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Xander! Shout out to you, man. Good to see ya. Hey, getting yourself on a Seahawks Today video. That's a real one. Love you, Xander. Appreciate you, big dog. For both of your opinions, if we trade Woolen, who should we get for him? Who or what should we get for him? Now, unfortunately, Xander, I am higher on Woolen than I think everybody else is. I think that a Riq Woolen for Jackson Powers Johnson trade straight up is fair. I have been told that is clearly not fair by a lot of other people, including our Raiders host, Mitchell Renz, here on Seahawks Today. So what I would tell you is the best that you're probably going to get for Riq Woolen is somebody else that's in a similar position. A player that has had some good moments, has had some bad moments, and the team is ready to move on from them. Riq Woolen also has less trade value because, well, one, you've already gone out and created the rumor. Everybody knows that rumor that Ian Rappaport tweeted out of Riq Woolen being on the trading block came from inside the Seahawks front office. So that brings some of the trade value down. The other thing that brings his trade value down is that he is not a long-term player. Right now, with his contract being in the final year, teams are viewing him as a rental. He'd basically be coming in a tryout spot. So if you're going to trade for someone that you don't know if you're going to fully re-sign, why would you trade a lot away for him? So the value is going to be low. I think you're probably getting a day 3 pick. Unfortunately, I think you're probably going to get a 5th round pick or worse. So hopefully you're able to make a trade with a team that is already, well, not very good at football. That way that pick is higher and it looks closer to a 4th-round pick as opposed to later and it looks more like a 6th-round pick. Now, if you're able to get some veteran help on the offensive line, maybe that's someone that could come in and kind of fix that right guard position that Brandon and Ian were talking about. Or maybe you're able to go and already bolster up a position of strength. There's rumors of maybe the Giants wanting to move on from Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, you'd have to trade more than just Riq Woolen. You'd probably have to trade a draft pick away as well. But maybe that's something that you could package together to go and make a big-time splash. Julian, I think you've been on every mailbag so far, man. That's awesome. What is going to be our biggest strength and weakness going into Week 5 against Tampa Bay? Julian, that's a great question. I think when it comes to strength, I think it's going to be on the offensive side of the football for you. You have no injuries aside from Robbie Oots, and you already knew that he wasn't going to play in this game. You also had a lot of time to give players rest. Abe Lucas has missed some practice time this year. Well, guess what? He didn't have to miss any practice time this week because he had the mini bye. You also allowed a lot of your veteran players to get some extra rest. Cooper Kupp now isn't having to run around and practice every single day. The offensive line, they don't have to bang as much. They get a little bit of extra rest. They can be fully prepared to go to war against Tampa Bay because this game on Sunday, it's going to feel like a playoff game. Now, the biggest weakness that you're going to have, probably say it's going to be in your secondary, and it's simply because, again, you're dealing with injury issues. You have players in that secondary unit that banged up. Devin Witherspoon hasn't practiced so far this week. Julian Love hasn't practiced so far this week. You're getting Nick Emmanwori back, but, the kid's played 5 plays so far in his NFL career. So I think when you look at the injury report, it could be a lot worse. You could be Tampa Bay. Look at how long that list is. But the players that you are missing are key players. Obviously, you're going to miss DeMarcus Lawrence. That doesn't end up being as big of a deal as the secondary because everybody else in his position group is healthy. But I am interested to see how this secondary unit, are they able to continue to perform the way they have been? The big savior for you has been guys like Josh Jobe and Darian Kendrick playing better than anyone had previously expected them to play. Seahawks Forever is kind of on the same path here as Xander. Should we keep Riq Woolen for corner depth in case of an injury? Now, Seahawks Forever clearly is hanging out, or at least listening to Mitch in Seattle, because this was a take that a former radio host, now podcast host, had out there as well. When you look at the Seahawks cornerback depth chart, it's not one of the deeper ones in the league if everyone doesn't perform to the peak of their ability. This isn't an attack on anybody else, but right now, let's say that Riq Woolen does end up getting benched. Darian Kendrick is your starting nickel. Devin Witherspoon is your left corner. If there's another injury to that position group, Riq Woolen's next up. It's not Nehemiah Pritchett. You've already seen Devin Witherspoon dealing with a knee injury. And so, actually, it was a big deal that you had Riq Woolen. Riq Woolen came in and filled some of the holes that you would have had or would have been bigger holes when Devin Witherspoon was out. Look, I understand that Riq Woolen has his issues and has his mistakes. But Riq Woolen is still a good starter in the NFL. He's just not what he was his rookie year. He's frustrating. He has big key moments in lapse of judgment, I would say. But I would say that this isn't the worst idea ever. I would still love to get a good trade value out of Riq Woolen. I'm always a big believer in getting the most return, most bang for your buck. That doesn't necessarily mean that Seattle will move on from him. If everyone's only offering you a 7th rounder or like one of those pick swap deals, man, just hold on to Riq Woolen. Maybe there's going to be an injury in that position room, and you'd be happy to have him. This Sunday, your Seattle Seahawks are at home taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are 3.5-point favorites. We're going to have a live watch party. Make sure that you tune in. It's going to start an hour before kickoff. You do not want to miss it. Who do you have? Let me know down below in the comments. Type C for Seahawks. Type TB for Tampa Bay. I better see a whole heck of a lot of C's down below in the chat. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We've got Seahawks videos coming out every single day for you. And if there's any late breaking news on your favorite team, I'm going to make sure I get that information out to U12s. Until next time, I'll see you later.